that I have been studying for several years since they came to the market. Because for me, it's a very interesting topic because I think this could be a great improvement in dental restorative because they can improve the major concern for the restoration that is the interface. So we are gonna share and speak for no more than 10 minutes, and I hope you enjoy this presentation. The bioactivity, when people ask me why do I have to use this kind of material, because these materials are not tested for several years. So for me, the reason or the most important reason is that bioactivity is for our patients. The major problem in prosthodontics and restorative is that we need to change a lot this restoration because they are very vulnerable at the interface. So the most or the most benefits gonna be to the patients because when we work with nature, we help to prevent the micro leakage and a future for our patients. And this is not only a clinical problem, it is also a public health problem. Okay, but first we need to understand what is biomimetic, what is biomimicry. The best definition that I can tell you is that biomimicry is imitate or mimic the nature. So some of the people that are not agree with this kind of treatment or this kind of options for restorative dentistry is because they ask us about how can a resin be bioactive. And I know that it's not easy because traditionally we are used to know that the materials we use in dentistry, once they are polymerized, they are hydrophobic. So we need to forget what we already know with the years, and we need to open the mind and try to understand this because this is not as easy as the fabricants mention us because the development for research and development of these kind of materials is not quite easy. So that's why we don't have plenty companies with an offer like these kind of materials. So the first of all, we need to understand how the nature repairs. Traditionally, when the nature is attacked or receive an injury, they produce a material. They produce and they can repair by itself. This is one of the things that we already know in the physiology of a tooth with mainly the dentin. The dentin, when it's attacked, they produce repair dentin. But how and in the past we have kind of materials that produce and this reaction and they can deliver some ions that helps or induce the tooth to produce reparative tissue. But the problem in the past was that they were in on a vehicle that have a lot of dissolution with the humidity of the dentin. So the one of the best definitions about biomimicry is one that we can find in the literature by Janine Venues. In her book Biomimicry, she told us that biomimicry is viewing the nature as a role model teacher that has already solved many of the technological and sustainability problems that we face today. And in resume, it's imitate the nature's process. That's what we need to understand. Another definition could be the design and production of materials, structures, and systems that are modeled on a biological entities and process. We need to observe nature. We need to test nature. We need to learn from them. And we can put this kind of of repairs in our industry. In the dental field and in medicine, one of the concepts or the most popular definition was the one that we can find in the bioactive materials defined by Hensch in 1969. And one of the definitions that I really uh, enjoy to share with our colleagues. A bioactive material is one elicit a specific biological at the interface of the material which result in the formation of a bond between the tissue and the material. And in bonded restorations, I prefer to change the word bond for integration because that is what we saw in the research when we let the material share these kind of ions with the tooth. We're gonna see the separation or the completely absence of material and the tooth. I know that it's not easy to to understand because we are not and we are not used to work with this kind of material, and everything that is new it's is always going to create a difference between opinions. But we have already our friend the saliva. That saliva is always in this kind of sharing process. When the bacteria attacks with the acid production and create demineralization, we lost minerals. And the saliva complete or replace these minerals for the tooth, and we have a balance between demineralization and remineralization. So we can tell that saliva is bioactive and brings life. We are as a dentist we know a lot about how is the system of the buffer system with the saliva. And in dentistry, we already have some publications about this kind of bioactive materials. One of them is the one from Jefferies at 2014 in his paper that he defined as bioactive material is one of that forms a surface layer of an apatite-like material in the presence of saliva or a substitute like saliva. And as we can see in these slide, we have five different materials. The first two, the self-adhesive resin cement, resin modified glass ionomer, and a traditional glass ionomer. And the two finals, it's the aluminate calcium and silicate calcium. Remember this word, calcium. Calcium is the key for this kind of process and how we can have this calcium for more time. And the biology is slow, but it's very intelligent. So as we see in these same images at the left and also at the right, in the first on the first three rows, we can see a difference between the material and the tooth. Also in the different um, tests of 7 days or 14 days and 31 or 60 days. The three conventional material, also that the glass ionomer, that we need to clear that it's not classified as a bioactive material. So the other two, the ones that have calcium, if you see in the same images, we lost or the interface is gone. It's no more because we have an integration between the tooth and the material. So where in dentistry we can have this kind of products or which application we can have. We have already some products for prevention in sealants and varnishes. We have an improvement already with this. Also in restorative and the specialty that have more time with this kind of bioactive material is the endodontics specialists because they can work with MTA that we have a lot of papers, we have a lot of literature about that. Orthodontics already is working and already we have cements for crown and bridges. In prevention, we already have products for with that have bioactivity and the mouthwashes also in the toothpaste. we already are challenging different kind of minerals that can be inside the toothpaste and delivery with the time more and can produce more remineralization. One of them is the nanohydroxyapatite. And in the varnish, we already have xylitol with calcium and phosphate and fluor in the same presentation. That it sounds easy, but from the chemical point of view, it's not easy to have these kind of materials together. Okay. Um, when they ask us what we have, what literature, what is the background, the theoretical support on these kind of materials, but because they are new, they are launched very recently, but we can support the use of these materials with all the history that we already have with MTA because they are cousins. They just change some kind of the radio pacifiers, but at the end, they are inspired in MTA. The difference is that we have now different vehicles that can allow us to have the presence of calcium for more days. It's not easy to produce, it's not easy to have in a product, but we already have some companies that have this kind of technology. And the best thing is that our main problem was the restorations. So we now have these kind of composite materials that can deliver calcium and phosphate. Because in the past, we can tell that the major activity that a dentist do in the year is changing or restoration. So the composites fails from inside to outside, and the glass ionomer fails from outside because the glass ionomers can be at position and can be used as a final restoration. And the traditional composites, they just fill a hole, but they don't deliver nothing to the tooth. So at the end, have the interface that's gonna be infiltrated by bacteria. Okay. And this is the main table of the presentation that we compare about the gold standard, that is the tooth, with bioactive restorative materials, composite glass ionomers, and modified glass ionomers. So at the end, the static, it's the same for bioactive, composite, and maybe the resin modified glass ionomers. But in the feature of hydrophilic, just the tooth structure and bioactive materials are more friendly with the water. A little bit the glass ionomer and the modified glass ionomer. This is one of the major improvement in technology for this kind of material is that they can adjust the pH because in the mouth we're going to have a lot of changes, and this kind of material can adjust his pH power. The high strength the composite have also the bioactive material has because in the past they were classified as glass ionomers, but they are not. This is a different kind of material. From the topic, release calcium, phosphate, and fluoride, only the tooth, only bioactive material, also for the formation of apatite when they are stimulated. And if we have concern about the resistance of these materials because we're gonna leave and we can use as a definite restoration, they have a very mechanical performance in the mouth with the years. We already have research that can prove this future.